I want to start by thanking the Mattituck Chamber. As Terry always reminds me, our family is a member of the other chamber for 4 decades, but not the Mattituck Chamber. But,
Not that far, not that far.
but we do appreciate the work because it is difficult to be in business, and I think the chambers are the vehicle to reach out to government to let them know, like, what can you do? Don't do anything like that's going to harm our business. But what can you do to actually help our businesses? So it's really critical to have that collaborative voice. So thank you for that. I just want to acknowledge there's a few other elected officials here that I work with all the time. A couple of assessors, Leah Sullivan, Bill Flinter, a couple of town board members, Ann Smith and Brian Mealy. And I want to acknowledge them because trying to work together with everyone in the community, they're very good. They're very good partners. One of the main things that we work on is the budget. It's sort of nonstop. It is the same as running a business. You've got building and grounds. You've got insurance. You've got personnel. Those are the same concerns, and I know the same challenges. And so I respect all the business owners that are here, and I certainly wish them a good season this year. I try to be prepared for some of these things, and I work with Ann, who did something in the school system for a long time. Who's very organized. And if I write it down, who had their notes on a napkin? Thank you. So I don't do that anymore. So we had a lot of things going on this year. We had a big cyber attack. I want to thank. We had a very good IT department. From the police department side, Lieutenant Bobby Haas was amazing, helping with that. Lloyd Reisenberg, who has just retired from our RD department from Mattituck, he was amazing. We had Leon Cielo, who started a week before it, and Zach Tomaszewski. They were amazing in getting us out of that. We had a lot of good partners in the county. We had, Homeland Security, we had the FBI, we had New York State court systems. We had a lot of good partners to help us along. But it was really a good collaborative effort. And to lead into that also, we have a big emergency management team, and it used to be run through the IT department. Now, thanks to Chief Grant, it's run under his leadership. Emergency management, it's complicated. It does require a lot of collaboration with all the other different partners, including Suffolk County Emergency Management. We sat in that meeting last year in Yaphank. I always remember sitting there thinking, geez, I hope we never have to use this. And sure enough, we had to use a lot of it so far. So that's been a lot of work, keeping the community safe. I can't say enough about our police department and our local fire departments, how much they do, how much work is done behind the scenes to keep us safe. We are working. We do have a flood map, which should be online soon. I asked our GIS department, our highway superintendent Dan Goodwin, and our town engineer come up with a flood map. 2 years ago, when I started as supervisor, we had a lot of historic flooding from nor'easters and coastal storms. These are now mapped, they're verified, and they'll be useful for emergency responders and residents alike, so that if the road is closed, it's closed for a reason, and we want to keep people safe during those storm events. A couple of weeks ago, we had I don't know if anyone's been in town hall, we had a water pipe break. About a third of the ceiling of the meeting hall came down. We were very fortunate that nobody was in the meeting hall at the time, and that it was 3:30 in the afternoon, so we're all in the right where the fire alarm goes off. There's 7 doors to get out of the building. There's no smoke or anything. So it's a cold day. Everyone's trudging out of the building. You look back and the water's coming out of the side of the building like a fire hose. And we ran back in, ran down cellar, shutting every valve off we could find. DPW did a great job. Dennis and I are moving boxes around and tables downstairs, and but I can't say enough for Southold Town DPW. They did a great job of cleaning it up. We should have it restored soon. Thank you to the civics. Chris, you mentioned we're having that subdivision 101. There's been a lot of news about some of these bigger conservation subdivisions. And when I see that, I think, oh yeah, that, in 2001 we did this, in 2007 we did that, not realizing that a lot of people don't remember that. So we're doing this subdivision 101 so that we can inform everybody who lives here today. This is what happened back then, this is why, and this is the system that's been set in place when somebody comes in, some sort of land use. We're doing also the affordable housing one, and thank you to the Mattituck Civic for hosting that. The affordable housing, that's next week, next Monday. So please come down for that. If anyone's seen Town Beach in Hashimomic, it's the George Sullivan Memorial Beach now. I called the DEC about it a couple months ago. I said, we need some options about trying to remediate what's happened there. Last winter, not this winter, the winter before, you remember those big piles of sand in the parking lot all winter? And DPW and the highway department kept adding to the piles of sand. And they spread them right before Memorial Day. And we didn't even have a storm. And one day, all the sand was gone. It lasted one day. So sand restoration on that beach is just not a good option. We're looking at the DEC. They agreed to consider some other options. In the county, and I'm looking at Greg now, so in the county, I put in the coastal resiliency plan because Route 48 is a county road. There's two low spots. One is by Mattituck Inlet here, and one is by Hashimomic, by the Town Beach. And so we have a meeting set up with the county. I contacted Congressman Lalota's office. Suffolk County DPW knows all about it, because it is a county road. And New York State DEC, they're sending a team also. They just called the office today to confirm that. So we've got everybody who, because it's a county road, they really need to be involved to try to see what are we going to do with the elevation of the road. In a storm event, we want to protect the road. We want to see if we can restore some kind of parking lot and beach there in a more permanent fashion. Because right now, Mother Nature's just working its way through to the road. If you notice, if you go on the Peconic Lane, if you go opposite the brewery there's a new highway barn. The cost of equipment has gotten so expensive. Last year, I had a nice sit down, like a heart-to-heart with our highway superintendent, Dan Goodwin. I said, Dan, we're buying these trucks with snow plows. We've had like 5 to 10 green winters in a row. Do you think it's ever going to snow again? What are we buying all these snow plows for? Dan said, no, we need those trucks. We need those plows. He was right. But we made a decision a couple of years ago to put up that barn because the trucks have gotten so expensive. They're almost $300,000 a piece. The street sweeper is almost $450,000. All that equipment's so expensive, we want to prolong its life and reduce the maintenance on it and keep all that equipment stored inside. So that barn is basically dry storage. We're trying to protect our equipment. And hopefully it will be in service soon. We did pass a water conservation law last year. And I have been working with LICAP, Long Island Commissioner for Aquifer Protection, for quite a few years as a county legislator, and it was run mostly by the water purveyors in Nassau and Suffolk. And there's a Nassau-Suffolk Lawn Sprinkler Installation Association, and they're very concerned about water conservation because that's their business. And if you have a community that like Shelter Island doesn't allow for lawn irrigation from the aquifer, they're concerned about conservation. They're concerned about making sure everything's done properly. So the water conservation law, and you've seen it all the time, automatic sprinklers are running when it rains. And the whole purpose of the law is to make sure that people have rain sensors and smart controllers on their lawn irrigation. And so you could cut out, so the Lawn Sprinkler Association was in favor of this. All the water providers are in favor of this because they want to preserve that and conserve that resource. And they said just by not irrigating your lawn automatically when it rains, I'd say between 15 and 25% of all that water in the summer. In the summer use, 70% is for lawn irrigation. So it's a huge amount of, it's like money in the bank, so we don't want to waste that. There are a lot of changes coming in New York State to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And a lot of the towns are trying to push back. It's sort of a grab on local control by New York State. We want to make sure that New York State isn't going to get into the land use and zoning business. So you've probably seen commercials on TV to that effect. What that is trying to do is take that local authority away. And the towns are trying to push back and say that New York State should do what New York State does and not take that authority from us. The zoning update. So this is year 4. We're going to have another meeting with the planning department tomorrow at the town board meeting and try to decide where we're going. The zoning update was started a long time ago. There had been, I don't know if progress is the right word, but there's been a lot of work involved. There's been a lot of community engagement. Right now we're doing a lot of things outside of the zoning update, things that really shouldn't wait. We're working on the short-term rental problem. We're having another code committee on that. We're working on the cell tower problem. That legislation, we had to renotice it, so it'll be noticed again tomorrow for another public hearing. But that work is pretty much all done on that. There are a couple of moratoriums that are coming up. One is the battery storage moratorium that's coming up on April 21st. If anyone has this, I know there's a lot of interest in that because the state just came out with some guidance. We haven't had a chance to review it yet because we were waiting for the state guidance to come out to kind of try to see if that was going to work for our town. So that moratorium is going to expire soon. The hotel moratorium is going to expire June 18th, and we'd like to comment on that. We had one hotel come in last year, apply for a waiver of the moratorium. That waiver was granted by the town board, and then those people subsequently came in and applied for a hotel, and they're in the process with the planning department. A lot of these things were covered nicely by the other speakers. The communication survey, Dennis did mention that. I know Brian Mealy and Alexis Seuss are very involved with that. We have 2 town departments that are on Facebook. One is the police department, and the other is the rec department. We're trying to figure out what the heck Instagram is. And we're trying to figure out what's the best way to reach people. And we have a very good committee that's working on that, trying to sort out the best way, because you have to manage it. There's a lot of good ideas, but then it takes a lot of staff and a lot of time to manage these things. When it came, I mentioned the water pipe break, and we were very fortunate because most of the water was going outside. And Dennis and I were running around the cellar with DPW trying to move the boxes. We were fortunate, we didn't have a lot of water damage there, but as town clerk, he's the records management official or officer for New York, and New York State has a lot of guidance for record management. And so we had a couple of good meetings, right? And what records should we store? How should we store them properly? We just had the big computer hack. We didn't lose any data because our data had been stored properly. So we want to make sure, why are we keeping paper records when we don't need to? We want to keep what we need to. We don't want to store things that we don't. So that was a good chance to kind of reevaluate the way we're operating. So the Youth Bureau, we have a new Youth Bureau director. She is working on student internships because we feel that's a good thing to expose students to different levels of government and also different businesses. So if you see something about that, and if your business is interested in hosting an intern, please reach out to the Youth Bureau. And then the last thing really is the Mattituck Inlet. I want to thank, because years ago, Jeff Strong took Army Corps of Engineers who were out on a boat, and I never thought they would dredge it. Jeff was showing the engineers where the hot spots were inside the creek, not at the mouth. And they actually, because it takes, and I've had many conversations with our congressman, Nick Lalota, because it takes like literally an act of Congress to fund dredging Mattituck Inlet because it's a federal anchorage. And I think because, Jeff, because you took them out there and they saw the problem, they actually dredged it last year, and we were talking about it earlier today. The dredge material isn't compatible for beach placement. It's like sludge, so you couldn't possibly put it to restore the beaches on the sound front. They barged it to the mouth of the creek. They transferred that to a different barge, and they shipped it to New Jersey. And it was a battle there because we didn't want it dumped in Long Island Sound. It was a big battle with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I thought DEC was behind it, and they were like, no, we don't want it dumped in Long Island Sound either. So anyway, the inlet got dredged, and it was a good effort. And I want to thank the Park District because they've been advocating for maintenance dredging them out. But that sand can go to the east on the Park District beach because that's clean sand that's compatible for beach placement. That's different material. So thank you. I think that's 2 minutes or 3 minutes.